So I got my buddy Eli here, my coach Eli, who again does my diet, my lifting and everything for me. And he's gonna show you guys a cool exercise that you can use to strengthen your grip using very lightweight, like a little 2.5 pound plate, maybe a little less, maybe a little more. And this came up because we were talking about doing a grip break in jiu-jitsu. If someone's doing like an arm bar and you've got like some big strong guy who you get him in an arm bar, you can't break the grips. I was showing him how to do a grip break, basically to stop it before it starts. And then we were looking at it a couple of other places. And then afterwards he was like, well, like, you know, this is the part of your hand when you really think about it that gives out. He'll explain it in a second. When you're lifting, whether you're doing a heavy like deadlift or you're just doing some pulling exercises and you're doing it high reps and your hands can't hold anymore. And so again, he's gonna show how to use this little plate or something like it to strengthen your grip. And it's a part of the hand that typically doesn't get a lot of focus. And so again, I'll let him take it away and show you guys how to strengthen those grips. All right, guys, so I've got this big son of a bitch here in the bottom of side mount here, and I wanna go for this arm bar. Now, if he gets a good grip on his arm, many of you guys have probably been there where you sit back for this arm bar here, we go, and then we're trying to pull, I mean, and it's like hell trying to break that grip, right? So here's something you can do in order to work around that, okay? So let's say that as soon as we get to this side mount position, like from mount, however you set it up, as we hook it in, before he even gets like here, because a lot of times they'll be doing different stuff, as soon as we hook, before he starts defending the armbar, I'm gonna take my hand and I'm gonna get a figure 4 grip. But instead of grabbing where we normally do, which is right into the wrist here, I'm gonna go down here into the hand, okay? And again, I showed this a long time on the channel, and a long time ago on the channel, and one of my black belts, Nate, just came down and trained with us yesterday, and he reminded me of doing this. Like, this is such a good detail. He's like, I learned it from you. But it's a really good detail, so I wanted to remind you guys about it too. But right here, we're grabbing into the meat of the palm of the pinky here. Now, what's nice about this is now, when I go for this armbar here, boom, okay? When I get here, at this point, he doesn't have the ability to grab with all 4 fingers. So this hand's wedged in there. So if he tries to hold, he's gonna be holding with just the tips of his fingers here, right? Because we've got control of these. Boom, we can break. So again, we get to the position, we go for our armbar, figure 4, just like we would. We're just getting down here lower. Now, sitting to the side, now we can break. And if for some reason he is still strong with those 2 fingers, you can also do a little bit of a wrist lock here by bending the wrist back to break the grip and then go for your arm bar. Another place, similar to the arm bar there, he has great control of my hand and I can't really do much with it, okay? But also too, we can use the same idea here for me. If I know that the weakest part of his hand is gonna be down here, well, like say if he's got me in like a really, he's got a decent collar grip, right? If I can wedge my finger inside the meat of his hand right here, right around his top 2 fingers, if I can get in there and I can pull out, I can actually weaken that out a little bit. I weaken the strongest part of his hand, and now he's hanging on by just those 2 fingers, his pinky and his ring. Super weak in comparison, right? That's easy to break. Opposed to if he's here, like now, that's gonna be tough to break. So it's not gonna be easy to break this way, but if I can weaken this part, bam. Now with that said, that was what we were working on during our jiu-jitsu lesson, and now we'll take a look at a simple exercise you guys can do with a couple of really lightweight plates to strengthen a grip, or at least a part of your hand and the grip that 1 gives out the most when you're lifting, and also 2 probably gets very little work in your normal exercise routine.
All right, so a cool little trick to help with that. The
Fire truck. It's not an ambulance this time, it's a fire truck.
Bam-a-lance. Send Bam-a-lance.
So, cool little trick. I don't cut that one out. I used to cut it out. I used to cut out ambulance. Now I just roll with it.
Yeah, sweet.
All right.
So a cool little exercise to help with that. As he was explaining earlier, these 2 fingers, really strong. Whenever your grip breaks, even if we look at it from a lifting standpoint, deadlift, rows, anything, it's that pinky and that ring finger that give out first. You'll start to open here, and then the grip's gone. So little increment plates like this, 2.5s. 5s are gonna get pretty heavy. So start with the ring finger, okay? So ring finger and thumb. I'm gonna pinch right here with both of these. Now I can pace around a little bit, and I'm gonna hold these until that ring finger gives out and my grip starts to slip. Once it does, I'm gonna switch to the pinky. Thumb and pinky on here, and I'm gonna do the same thing. Now, there's no ledge on this. If all you have is the old school kind here with a ledge on it, be sure and grip down here on the webbing, because otherwise you're just going to kind of hang from that lip. You're not going to have the same effect. It's not going to work on that pinching power, that grip and strength. So pinching here is going to give you the same kind of effect.
Yeah, so if you guys are looking at it right here, again, all he's doing is just taking this and putting it in there just like that. This is right here. Yeah. And again, it's way tougher than you expect. And so again, I kind of know the answer to this, but if someone was going to do this during their workout, would they do this at the beginning of a workout, or would this be at the end of the workout?
Definitely want to do it at the end of the workout. If you do it beforehand, you're really going to struggle to hold on to the weight. You're going to struggle to hold on to the bar, the dumbbells, the cable attachments, whatever you're working with that day. Not to mention too, this isn't going to be super taxing on you. Again, we're using light weight. Honestly, it's going to be a bit easier to get the desired effect after you work out, simply because your hands are going to be tired anyway. So a little goes a long way at that point.
Right. Well, even just like when we were talking about this before, I was just holding this for like just a bit, you know, and I'm like, man, like this, it doesn't seem like much. And even like you were saying, if you walk around with it, there's a bit of a jarring motion that's going on where your hand's having to tense up and tense up and tense up.
Yeah.
And after you're done, you're like, man, that's like, I think most of us, we're not used to using that part of our hand to squeeze as much. It's almost always this, and these are sort of the assistants, but they're not as strong. And again, I spend my life gripping on stuff for a living, right? But even like when I teach, for instance, how to grip onto like a wrist, for instance, like this, I don't teach this part so much. I teach middle finger first to get into the like the bend of the wrist, and then everything else just hold. These two are the main ones, and then these just kind of fall into place. But, you know, again, imagine if you have really strong grips here, you can really have a good grip all the way around. And even from a jiu-jitsu standpoint, if we're doing a collar choke, we talked about this a bit too, there's always a casting and a reeling motion. So I'm either, if I've got this grip here, I'm sort of reeling out like fishing, right? You're fisting. And then this one, we're kind of reeling it in. And so on the reeling in side, so right here, again, we get this. Well, what part of the hand are we using? We're using this part to flex in. And so if we can have a stronger grip here to flex in and get that finish, that could be super useful to us. So again, it was just a neat little detail. Again, Eli's been my coach for several years. He comes and does jiu-jitsu work with me once a week up here in Louisville. I've worked with him for the lifting stuff that I've been doing, the more bodybuilding style lifting stuff that I've been doing, and my diet. It's been super useful. Also for you guys, shameless plug, if you guys want to see a program that we created together so that you guys can basically learn some of the lifting stuff that he's been showing me and some of the diet stuff he's been showing me for the last 3 years, you can look down in the links below, and there's a link. You can click that link. It'll give you some more details. But otherwise, hopefully that little trick, you can add that to your next lifting session. Just at the end of it, just walk around with some weights between your fingers and see how that helps.
Very effective.
Thank you, buddy.
Yes, sir.
All right.